Welcome to the channel, guys. I'm Liam. This is Expert Game Reviews, and obviously, as you can see, today it's kind of like more serious on the channel. So, like I said, thank you guys for supporting the first video. We got to 100 likes, which Welcome back to the channel. It's Liam OBACAT, and today I want to give you guys tips on how to become a pro gamer. Be sure to drop a like on this video, give me those big ones, and then we get into today's video. So, for those of you who got to see the first video and those of you who haven't, there is a link in the description for you to go check that out. And then once you are done with that video, come over to this video. It's kind of like a continuation, but obviously they are sort of like two different parts. But this one, for those of you who are already into video games, you've been playing video games for a while, but you have a gamer's tag and maybe you kind of like even dominate on a particular platform or stuff like that, this video is actually to tell you how to go pro. Now, going pro sort of like means you want to really get into esports and possibly make bank, which I actually haven't done yet. The first thing to going into esports is obviously you have to understand how it works. In the sense that esports in itself, it's like a community on its own, so you have to go into the community. Now, obviously, if you did see the first video, you kind of like have picked up a few tips. You kind of like pick a game, pick a genre you want to play, pick a platform, start a game hashtag and stuff like that, and also kind of like communicate with or mingle with other gamers in the community and or in your specific genre's community, and kind of like get involved with people. But the first step I would say to kind of like going pro is going out for competitions. Now, obviously, the only way you can kind of like get this kind of updates is when you are interacting with a community. So if you go out into competitions, obviously it's not like you're not necessarily going to dominate like in your first competition, because trust me, going outside, or even for my first competition, I flopped. I got beat. It wasn't that bad, but it was bad. Nonetheless, I didn't win a single game or tournament the whole day, and that wasn't really great. But nonetheless, it's kind of like it's just to sort of like boost your morale into esports. So first off, you want to look for competitions to join. Now, for those of you who sort of like are interested in the English Premier League and you play the Fantasy Premier League, now next part we've got a Fantasy Premier League tournament sort of like going on, and so there's a link in the description for those of you who want to join that. So that's kind of like a strategy game. So for those of you who are into that kind of games, yeah, obviously. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, because definitely when we get to have more esport tournaments here in the lounge, I definitely will be giving you guys those updates. So second tip, if you feel you might not necessarily do well at competitions but you still want to kind of like be a pro gamer, one thing you could do is kind of like start like a YouTube channel. So start something that you could use in creating consistent content, and then you're putting out for like an audience. Now, you might not necessarily go for competitions if you decide to do that, or you could still decide to go for competitions if you still choose to make like content on either YouTube or Twitch or wherever video games are made. If you choose to do that, along the line you kind of like get better, especially if you stick to like a particular game. So for me on my channel, I really don't stick to a particular game because I kind of like just enjoy video games playing on my channel. But if you kind of like want to become a pro, my advice is more like you focus on like one game or like a specific group of games, so you don't kind of like draw yourself way too out. But in the real sense, you can play as many games as you like and still be pro at many. But to go pro, you kind of like should stick to one game. Sticking to one game is kind of like still important, so keep that in your head. Stick to a game, get good at the game, and when I mean good, like really good, more like you can pick up a challenge and still not be scared. So that's kind of like how you kind of go pro. Now, the third tip is kind of like it happens when you kind of like have taken action with possibly any of the first two, or possibly the first two combined, and that's joining an esports team. So now, the way esports teams work, obviously there's no like direct laid out pattern for like an esports team. You definitely could get signed to an esports team if you go to a competition and you literally win a competition. Yeah, you definitely get team that way. Other ways could be you could search for teams that are possibly taking intakes. Obviously, like I said, many esports teams have different ways in which they recruit members, so you kind of like would have to do a little bit more research into finding the esports team you want to join, why you want to join them, and all that good stuff. So But it's important you join an esport team because that's what makes you like a pro game player. You could attend competitions for fun, you could do arcades, you could have your games on your channels and all that good stuff, but joining an esport team is like what is also important because that's kind of like what brings you, just like the way you have a player on a regular sport team, let's say on a football team or on a basketball team, you being a player on an esport team, that's kind of like, it's like a very huge bonus to making you a pro gamer. But obviously for you to kind of like then get to this stage, you obviously need to get good at games. For you to then go pro, you sort of like need to put these things in place, and then if you get signed into an esport team, great. If you do focus on playing like a particular video game and you create consistent content, one thing you could do is get a sponsor. So but the way sponsors kind of like work is also there is no lay down plan like this is how sponsorship works, but there is a guaranteed step to how you can get sponsorship. So if you play, let's say you stick on a game like FIFA or Mortal Kombat, if you play that game for like a good amount of time and then you create consistent content and you have like a fan base, it's easy for game publishers and game developers and then other top gaming bodies to kind of like reach out to you and then sort of like just give you like freebies. It could start with freebies and then other cool stuff, so that way you kind of like get sponsored, so they kind of like sponsor your content in a way you might not necessarily, that way you could just call yourself a pro gamer. Like that simple. It's not that simple because obviously in the industry there are like a lot of talk, trash talk, hype and all that stuff, but nonetheless if you just want to kind of like grow and be pro, that's sort of like, that's basically how you should do it. But obviously guys, for you to come into the industry, now I keep saying it like it's actually it's an industry. The esports whole community is an industry on its own. But if you do want to go pro, like I said, it actually takes a lot of hard work. Now it could be like it's just video games and it's just video games, but there's more to it. So if you actually do want to go pro, you definitely need to take this seriously. So like if you did see the intro, obviously it has to be serious because you want to be pro, and not just like a pro for being pro, you want to be like the best pro. I'm not there yet, but obviously at this point in time, I feel like I'm kind of like getting the hang of it. Obviously, I still get beats once in a while, but I think it's all part of the process. But nonetheless, guys, thank you for sticking to the end of this video. If you absolutely enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like. I say again, be sure to drop a like on this video, and if you want to kind of like see more of this kind of content, be sure to subscribe, click the subscription and click on that notification bell so you kind of like get notified every single time I bring a new tip, review, gameplay video for you guys, and you guys can enjoy on the channel. So once again, I'm Liam OBACAT, that's my gamer tag, and this is Nextpad Game Reviews. I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.